Why? I just don't like it. I don't like reading books.
Patriot, vampire, nationalist, mental retard. Mental retard, nationalist, mental retard, nationalist, mental retard.
Jesus Christ, bro. Bro, it's so true.
Eugenicist, a scared man.
Really?
Retard, traitor, vampire, next level, Moses.
Oh my God. And yeah, there it is. I'm a paladin. That's accurate. Everybody knows it's accurate, obviously. On collateral damage, reminded me of Eye in the Sky. What is this? Give me a sec before I watch this. I'm gonna take a piss. I'm a traitor, I guess so. Oh. Ah. All right. I got it. Just a minute. Now we're back. Sorry about that. What's this?
In my opinion, that was disgraceful.
Oh.
And all done from the
Sorry, Greta Thunberg.
safety of your chair.
Oops.
I have attended the immediate aftermath of 5 suicide bombings on the ground with the bodies. What you witnessed today with your coffee and biscuits is terrible. What these men would have done would have been even more terrible. Never tell a soldier that he does not know the cost of war.
Damn. Damn. That guy really was a legend. He was such a good actor. Oh my God. Yeah, he was not. The thing is, people get mad about that shit that I say, but I think they know it's true. It is. It's an aging form. What is this? This is probably not. It's probably not even me, is it? No, it's not even me. It's some other bullshit. I knew y'all were trying to put that in there. Give me a minute. I'll pull this up. And that's Severus Snape. I know that, bro. I know. I'm fully aware of that. And of course I know that. Who doesn't know that? Let me go and look at this. Watch it as you read the text before the video? No, I'm not even sure really what that was. I have no idea. And I saw this, dude. This was so bad. Look at this. So, this is an individual. This is a certain kind of individual. I can't believe this shit keeps happening, man. It's so annoying.
Let's do a little role-playing here. Let's do a little role-playing here, a little thespian exercise.
I've seen this.
You're going to play the judge, and I'm going to be presenting a case to you.
Okay.
It's the case of a university student being caught red-handed with over 100 videos on his phone of him secretly filming women using the toilet.
Innocent.
He was even caught
Didn't
in
do anything
the
wrong.
act filming a woman using the bathroom.
So they caught him. Okay.
And now I present to you this irrefutable evidence where there is no wiggle room for some kind of alternate
150
explanation.
times.
There is
That's
no
a
way
lot.
to weasel out of this being him filming these videos without permission, non-consensually, in a private setting, the toilet. Now, I, as the fun-size lawyer, present to you this case. What do you rule? What do you think is punishment that fits that crime? I would wager a guess that if you've got all your marbles about you,
he's going to jail for like 20 years. Minimum. That's crazy. 150 people? Oh my God.
You would rightfully say that jail time is in order for a perverted, unremorseful freak like this.
That's right.
Now, what if I told you this drama exercise wasn't all make-believe? This is a case that just unfolded in Australian court, and the judge ruled that the punishment for this individual wasn't jail time. It was a very stern, hands-on-the-hip wiggling of the finger saying, now don't do that again.
He secretly filmed women inside toilets and showers, but Barefoot Cow doesn't appreciate the camera being pointed at him.
Mr. Cow, why did you upskirt women?
The Melbourne University
Why'd you do that?
biomedicine student,
It's a good question.
originally from Vietnam, walking from court on a community corrections order.
How peculiar that the guy who was addicted to upskirting women and taking non-consensual videos of them using the bathroom doesn't like to be filmed himself.
What a surprise! What a twist!
Well, isn't that just the strangest thing? So this is
What are the odds of that?
23-year-old Bao Cao. He is a biomedical student in Australia.
Yeah.
And he was caught with over 100
He's not Australian even either, too. He shouldn't even fucking be there.
videos of him secretly filming women in bathrooms. They mention like shower. He was caught in the act of filming a woman using the toilet. That's how they actually apprehended him. She noticed that he was secretly filming her while she was on the toilet.
That's not
apparently
good.
holding his phone close to the wall, and she took notice of that, alerted security. They came in there and actually caught him red-handed.
What a weirdo.
Also, according to a couple articles, this is apparently not even the first time that he's had a run-in with the law for identical issues here.
So this is the most recent 150 people. So, like, it's already happened before. Now it's another 150 people. Right.
The offender had been sentenced twice before, receiving a community corrections order in July 2025.
Oh, maybe this one will make him more.
Matter in May 2025 relating to an incident in October of 2024.
Now is supposed to be in Melbourne studying to become a neurosurgeon. Instead, he's been
Looks like
exposed
he's trying to become a genealogist.
as a serial pervert. 3-year-old was living at Rooming Cos, a CBD student accommodation in the city. A fellow female student was showering when she noticed someone holding a mobile phone under her cubicle. It belonged to Cow, and he was arrested soon after. Police then discovered hundreds of secret images and videos of young women. There could be up to 150 alleged victims.
This is from a couple months ago with a previous run-in he had with authorities.
So wait a minute. So this is the last time that he did it? Oh my God.
He's here, and surprise, surprise, the strategy of doing nothing and hoping that the bad guy stops being a bad guy didn't exactly work. In this case, where again he was caught, even arrested, and even pled guilty, he still didn't receive a conviction.
That's right. Absolutely.
No punishment. He had to take like a sex offender course or something. He had to do like a tutorial on how not to be a sexual degenerate pervert scumbag loser fucking vile worm.
Cow pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to a community corrections order
Judge should be
and
complicit.
forced to undergo a sex offender treatment program. No conviction was recorded.
This is more of the moral inversion of modern politics, where the focus is not on the people who have been violated, but instead on the violator. So the focus is about treating him and making him a better person rather than solving this problem. And the problem for this is that the consequence of being wrong is that more people are violated, hurt, or in other cases, killed. So this is the issue. It's that people are more than willing to be, understanding and empathetic and everything. But what about the empathy for all of the victims? What about all of the people who have had their privacy violated, who have had, like some person try to record them? Who knows whether he sent these images to somebody else? Like, it's just insane. You never think about those people
we only think about what about him. And I think that's the main, that is the prime moral inversion of the legal system, that there is a fixation around making the person who already did something wrong happy and being fair to them. I don't think Everywhere. They're disenfranchised in media representation. They're disenfranchised in hiring practices. They're disenfranchised in education preferences. They're disenfranchised in opportunities such as scholarships and other types of internships. They're disenfranchised in the fact that they have to register for the draft and women don't have to register for the draft. They're disenfranchised in terms of child custody. They're disenfranchised in terms of like sentencing in courts. Like these are all verifiable, quantifiable, like 100%. Like not only is it men, but white men. It's like a multiplier where they're even more disenfranchised. And the more that you tell white guys for noticing that they're Nazis, be very careful, because they might start agreeing with you. And I think that's where we're headed. I think it's already happening pretty fast in Europe. And at the end of the day, these people will only have themselves to blame, because they've radicalized an entire generation of young men by creating an entire culture and society that hates them and that tries everything that it possibly can to demonize, keep them down, delegitimize, infantilize, patronize, and just basically punish these young men for nothing. Punish them for something that they didn't even do. Toxic empathy? Yeah. Like you saying you were racist before it was cool. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that was more a meme, but yeah. And I'm 50% of the way there already. Just keep saying it and fuck it. Yeah, I think that's where things are headed. And it's very disappointing for me to see this, because like I don't want to have that happen. I don't know why we need to have these extremes. But these people that, again, like we live in a society that's being defined by women who hate their husbands and girls who hate their dads. And they're the ones that are writing the rules for society. And guess what? They're not very friendly to men. Bring back the patriarchy. I like the sound of that. That's a good idea. And the Joker, short young men are literally the most oppressed demographic in the world. Yeah, and they get laughed at for it too. They do. It's so patronizing and awful. So I feel like this is what's happening. I wanted to talk about this because I think that a lot of people need to realize, I don't think that they understand how extreme and how bad this really is. So yeah, we just want to be left alone and play video games. Yeah. All of this could have been avoided. All you had to do was not get into video games. But you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. You couldn't stop yourself. You had to get into the video games. And now, that's what you get. That's what you fucking get. That's why parents should do better? Absolutely not. The parents have nothing to do with this. Like, the way that my parents raised me was very simple. They told me, do whatever you can to get ahead because nobody else will do it for you. That was it. That was basically my only lesson was, basically my dad brought me up. The only outcome is winning. Only win. It doesn't matter what it takes. It doesn't matter what you have to do. You can lie, cheat, steal, do anything you want as long as you win. And that's it. I was like 6 years old. He told me that. Like, actually, that's not true. I was like 4. I was a little kid, and he was going around, because I would ask him, I'd be like, why are you going, I thought this is 30. Why does the car say 80? He says, well, what do you mean? Oh, just because the sign says that? Now I have to listen to the sign? No, I'm going to drive as fast as I want. Unless they get me, I'll do whatever I want. That's it. And that explains it. It does. And so why stories of honor? There's no honor in allowing yourself to be disrespected, invalidated, disenfranchised, disaffected, and disrespected. There's no honor in that. There's no honor in being a glorified servant to a society that is programmed to hate you and to delegitimize you. That's not honor. That's slavery. Yet you advocate for law enforcement? Yeah, I do, of course, right? I mean, you have to have law enforcement. I mean, if the law enforcement was better, I wouldn't be doing it. And yeah, that's it. ABC is the rule, exactly. And no virtue in being weak. Yes, it's prey morality. That's what it is. It's pathetic, but it's not a surprise. Oh, here we go. And this is they're bombing Karg Island. I forgot to even talk about this. I've been so distracted by other stuff. Beards are back. Gillette is eating shit. Well, I like having a beard. My jaw is rotted out because of my teeth. Like if I cut my beard, oh my God, it would probably look so bad. Holy shit, it would look awful. Like, I used to have like a normal jawline. Like, you can go back and look at photos of me from like, I don't know, like I'm like 17 or like 22, 23. Like, I have a normal jawline. But like, then after that, ooh, not so good, right? And you look like Cyrax, maybe probably not that bad, but it would not be that good either. So beards are gay again. Maybe you're right. There's no way to fix your jaw. I don't know if there is or not. I have no idea. I hope that in time, this is my hope, is that in time I will be able to Atom Smasher myself into being a robot. That's the goal. That's where I'm trying to get to, is that I will just totally become a robot. I will become a machine, and then I will transcend the flesh and become even more than that. And so that's the goal. And man with a plan, yes, that is the plan. And I don't know if it'll ever work, right? But, fingers crossed. So this is over in fucking Karg Island. Uh-oh. So they're just bombing the shit out of it, huh? God fucking damn. When you refresh feed, your feed goes blurry. What is this here? I've said it before, trying to help. I don't think it goes blurry. Probably just for a second, though. Yeah, holy shit. Like, wasn't this a map in Call of Duty? I feel like this is a map where like you go up and there's like an area at the bottom and then you go up to the top. Was it COD 4? Was that a Battlefield? Yeah, that's what it was. I don't remember exactly. I remember seeing people. It is now. Yeah, it is now. Exactly. Holy. Ooh.
Ooh, not good. Not good at all. This is a huge attack. The island is 90% of Iran's oil sales. Yeah, well, it was. It was. Now it's I love how you can see the bombs dropping, too. That's a lot of fucking bombs. I'm surprised they didn't take this out earlier. So, Mossad, this is fucking funny. Mossad they're trying to get Iranians to roach out the fucking assholes that are in Iran. And so they sent a message to Iranians in Farsi, that's their language, and calling them to film checkpoints of the Bashir militia and sending the footage to Mossad's Telegram account. So, like, they're trying to get them like, bro, you know what? Benjamin Netanyahu, it seems that my mother-in-law, I know, you wouldn't have expected it, but she's part of the IRGC. Yeah, she lives at. Oh my god, it's loud. Brilliant, yeah, caught. $5 per picture too, my boss. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, my ex-wife. You'd never believe who joined the militia. It's my ex-wife. You believe that? Wow. And, oh, here, no, this is something else. I already saw that already. And, no overtime? Yeah, fuck you. And, yeah, what is this here? You can get your bones to regenerate? Oh, I don't know about that. I have no idea. And, yeah. And that actually did happen in Afghanistan. I'm sure it probably did. But, anyway, so, yeah, these are the videos of Karg Island. I'll look at some more of them after this, too. Holy fuck. God damn. God damn. They don't have ex-wives in Iran? I don't even know. I got no idea. Jesus, bro, look how big that is. Holy fucking shit. That is massive. Have you seen stuff about Erica Kirk and Epstein? You're contradicting yourself in your thinking. All right. All right. Why do you if you vague post, you're permanently banned. You have one chance to explain what the contradiction is. You have one chance, and then you're gone. You're going into the Shadow Realm. You don't want to go to the Shadow Realm, do you? They have a temporary what? What is this here? And if Iran bombed a school, it would already been World War III. What is this? Is some other thing? Says your mom. No, it's okay. Don't tell me there's another person that's chirping without a single thing to say. You said earlier, if I told you you had to do what it takes to succeed in life, that's what undocumented immigrants do? That's correct. I actually don't hold any animosity towards illegal aliens. I don't hate them. I don't think that they're bad people. I don't have any sort of emotional negative feeling towards them. I understand that they're trying to do what's best for themselves, but we just can't let them be here. I don't hate them. I don't have any sort of, anger at them. I just feel like, okay, well, you can't be here. Does that make sense? Like, of course they're doing what's best for themselves. But you can't let them do that. Because what's best for themselves isn't what's best for us. Does that make sense? Yeah, you broke the law? Yeah, do you get it now? It's perfectly rational? Yeah, of course. I mean, like, I can see, like, if I was in Guatemala, I would be trying to get to America, too. I would be. And if I heard you could go to America and not have to, like, pay taxes and shit, if you just went there and they weren't going to do anything about it, I would try to get myself and my whole family up there. Absolutely, I would. Like, duh, of course. Like, it's the same as that, like, if I knew that I could just go to Target and just walk out with everything, I'd probably do that. I mean, not anymore. I'm able to afford it and everything. But whenever, like, money was an issue, I would just steal everything if I could. But we have rules to prevent that from happening. Does that make sense? It's the same as, like, if I see a car that I like, what's stopping me from stealing that car? Well, the law is stopping me. Like, I understand why people steal things. I understand why people do bad things. It doesn't mean that it's okay. You can simultaneously have a reason for your action while at the same time having that action be bad. Does that make sense? I'm gonna give this guy morals too. I mean, what more? Like, this is what I would say, right? If I was a young guy again, what moral system allows me to be in a position where I can't live a life in dignity? What world am I in that I have to live this undignified, awful life when my money for taxes and, my birthright is being given away to foreigners for pennies on the dollar? Meanwhile, I'm being sold out when my family fought in the Revolutionary War. Where's the morality there? That's what I think. That's my opinion. So I don't view that as I don't view that as morality. It sounds like doublespeak to me. No, it's not doublespeak. You can understand why criminals do things, but at the same time realize that those things can't be allowed. Those things can't be allowed to happen. It's not doublespeak. There are oftentimes people have conflicting things. Whenever you're acting in self-interest, that doesn't mean that you're always doing the right thing for everybody. It's just stupid. It's just very, very sad. No, you just lack critical thinking skills. We got another one. And this is based on justice. Well, what is this here? I'll look at one more. One more person, then I want to move on and look at the rest of these images. What am I not? What critical thinking do I not have? We really have a lot of people that have. They're not very good at explaining things, are they? So that means they're just become buddies? Well, I don't know about that. Was he talking to you? Well, I don't know. No, not you, the chatter. You're 100% right. Oh, no doubt. I know. I'm fully aware of that. What is this here? So these are the other strikes on Karg Island. Holy fuck, look at this. God damn. Yeah, damn. How I say it. Whoa. Wow, Easy. Can you reverse you? Yeah. God damn. Look at that. That's a big-ass fucking explosion. Holy shit, that's a big fucking explosion. It's a real or AI. Some of these videos could be misattributed. It's important to keep that in mind. We look at all this stuff extemporaneously, so mistakes like that can happen. It's important to keep that in mind. Oh, this is from before. That's not Karg Island. And neither is this. Maybe just this first one is. And where are the other images here? I'll pull it up. Karg Island sounds like a place where an ogre king lives. So, regime collapse, no energy strikes on Karg Island, regime survives, chances are higher that Karg Island will no longer exist. That's what they're going to do. So what Trump is going to do, I think, and what Israel is going to do, is they will, if they have to leave Iran, they are going to basically send Iran back to the Stone Age. They are going to destroy all of their power infrastructure, all of their oil infrastructure, everything. That's where I think things are going to go. And again, like I think that would be horrible. That would be like the worst possible outcome. But like I think that's what they're going to do. It's a major escalation. Well, it's going to be over at that point, right? Because they won't be able to recover from that. So boots on the ground might be on Karg Island. Well, we don't know yet, and I have no idea. And Karg Island's going to be controlled by the U.S. I mean, maybe you're right. I mean, we could just, yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, that's probably what's going to happen with Cuba, too. It seems that way. Karg Island resumes oil. Yeah, and it's very small. I thought it was bigger. I did. I thought it was way bigger than it was. But if you look at this, let me just, can I pull this up on the Google? Give me a second. Where is it? Google Maps. And I want to see if I can find this real quick. Okay. That's what she said. Why don't you shut the fuck up? No. Okay. Where did this go? All right. I just want to pull this up and show you guys. So it is over. I thought, yeah, it was right here, yeah. Holy shit. It's actually very, very, very small. It's tiny. Look how small this island is. Like, for a second, I thought I was zooming in on the wrong place. Like, there's obviously Iran and, you know, UAE, Dubai, right, Qatar. And so it's all the way in here. It's this tiny little fucking island. It's about how you see it. Yeah, look at this. So can I click on this? Can I view what it looks like? Layers. Transit? Satellite? Okay. Yeah, holy shit. And these are all the oil refineries. You can see that. So this is very clearly what they're going after. And he ran. Yeah, no Google car there. Yeah, I was wondering if they had one, but it seems like they don't. So yeah, I mean, it's a very, very small place for them to bomb. So the fact that the U.S. could pretty easily control that, right? I mean, I feel like they'd be able to. But looks like, what is that? Oh, a few like little houses and shit there too. That's also nearby. Look up Israel. I mean, I don't know about Israel. I mean, like a lot of these are older anyway. So yeah, I mean, and this is fucking Iran. I mean, like, I don't know how, like, if they're going to try to get like troops into Iran, I feel like it's going to be pretty hard to do with all the mountains and shit. But I guess it's really kind of hard to say. But yeah, there it is. There's Tehran. Yeah, this is like their main city. The place is fucking massive, right? Obviously. 90 million people live in Iran. Look at all that. Oh my fucking god. That's huge. You need to fly in? Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, I mean, obviously Karg Island is like tiny, 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 but somehow all the oil stuff is on there, which is kind of insane. Iranian media says no damage to any oil facility after the U.S. bombing of the strategic island of Karg. No damage to the oil facilities. I wonder why they didn't damage the oil facilities. It's probably because they missed. I think that's the reason why they missed. What is this?
This is Iran's Karg Island, where 95% of the country's entire oil exports are
95% of all the oil is just sitting there.
loaded before heading to the global market. The tiny 21 square kilometer island holds massive outsized strategic importance. And because of this, Axios, Bloomberg, and other outlets are now reporting that their sources inside the White House are saying that they're seriously discussing and considering a special forces military operation to capture Iran's Karg Island.
We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential.
Gotta get all the oil.
Karg Island is one of the least known but most strategically important pieces of territory in the entire Middle East.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know about this except for like a video game or something. I had no idea.
The entire Islamic Republic of Iran's economy, the IRGC military spending.
That's true. The oil does need to be liberated.
The nuclear and missile programs and the government salaries are all funded by this single piece of infrastructure. Talk about a strategic vulnerability. To put this location into perspective, the island is only about half the size of Disney World in Florida.
I love how, like, American comparisons are like, yeah, so it's basically like, okay, so, like, you know a football field? Okay, so it's like 3 of those. Okay, so this one, it's kind of like, okay, so it's like that, you know how big the Titanic is, right? Okay, like 2 of those. Okay, so think about, you know Disneyland. Disney's real, real big. 2 of those. Wow. Or half of that. The swimming pool? Yeah. Those are like American measures, the American metric system.
It's the strategic linchpin that controls the whole country's economy.
And this even goes into a geopolitical level. Every single country is compared to the size of Texas.
It's so strategically important that it was in the 1989 Sega Genesis game F-15 Strike Eagle 2, and its map is in Battlefield 3. American gamers have been fantasizing about attacking Karg Island for literally...
So wait a minute. So that means that we have troops that already know the geography of Karg Island because they played... Oh my god. Bro, this is a layup. Shit, bro, they've been wargaming this. Bro, the troops have been wargaming this 20 years. Shit. We gonna get this no problem.
37 years now.
All right.
They claim this technically wouldn't be boots on the ground. It would be a loophole. It would be more like elite ninja slippers or something. So
Special boots on the ground.
today, we're going to examine why Iran's Karg Island matters so much, how heavily it's defended, and what a special forces mission inside of Iran would look. So Karg Island is only about 130 miles away. That's well within Black Hawk helicopter range. Kuwait is a launching pad for this helicopter assault mission. Apache helicopters with 30mm cannons, Black Hawks, and Chinooks carrying commandos embark from here, and it takes them just under an hour to reach Karg Island. Planners favor this low-altitude helicopter assault with support from U.S. Ranger Infantry Regiment. This allows soldiers to land precisely near key objectives. Special forces conduct high-altitude, low-opening halo.
I didn't expect Iran to be the 51st state. This is new.
Jumps from 30,000 feet in the sky in order to have standoff from the short-range air defense systems. They land near the island and sabotage air defense on the ground to pave the way.
Yeah,
The Delta Force squadron responsible for capturing Maduro was reportedly moved into nearby Kuwait in February 2026. Their first priority in securing and seizing...
Wait a minute. The Delta Force squad that got Maduro is in Kuwait right now? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. The Space Marines? Yeah.
The island is securing the oil terminal to prevent its destruction.
I actually wonder, I wonder if they're going to use another high-tech weapon. I feel like they probably won't need to, but it would be cool if they did. It would be very cool if they used a new weapon.
Each step of that plan is a possible point of failure and challenge if something were to go wrong. Mohammed Soliman, a senior fellow at the Middle East Institute, said this about Karg Island, quote, "Take it out, and this means cutting off the military budget in addition to pulling the plug on the basic services that keep Iranian society functioning." And
talk about putting all your eggs in one basket. What the hell were they thinking?
Quote, Karg Island security is reportedly handled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So defeating any kind of American air assault mission here would be their responsibility. Access is extremely restricted here, and satellite imagery suggests the site is heavily fortified. Reports indicate...
Well, it was.
That old assessments claim about 250 IRGC soldiers are here, plus another 250 air defense personnel stationed, and up to another 500 additional military personnel stationed behind steel perimeter fences and guard towers. There's only a population of about 8,000 people that live on the island. Most of them work there, according to this 2016 Iranian census report that I dug up. So the Financial Times analysis outlines the stakes clearly, I think. They say military action to destroy or take control of the island's infrastructure would be hugely damaging to Iran, but risks deepening the war, triggering a further shock to energy markets.
Well, this is the reason why Trump's doing all this, I think, is to just not have the markets go crazy. Honestly, because like if the stock market and like the oil market goes crazy, it will make him look bad. Get the discombobulator? Maybe, yeah.
And weakening any future Iranian government, end quote. It's like my old platoon leader used to always say, no risks and don't take any risks. Take a look at this CIA declassified assessment of Karg Island's defense from the 1980s. It reveals a lot. Case officers stated surveillance spotted 6 Hawk anti-air batteries on the island, 8 twin 35mm cannons, and another 8 light aircraft positions. Who knows what they have there today, but James reported Iran has deployed their top air defense here. Separated from reinforcements, the island is difficult.
They got 6 of them
to defend, and it's already isolated. Precision strikes would be needed to take out any of those air defense systems so as not to blow up the entire island. With Iran's air defense degraded, its navy largely destroyed, and its air force knocked out, and its ballistic missile launchers pummeled, American war planners believe that they have an opening at this.
I don't even think that they should try to capture it. I don't think so, because like somebody said in chat that the IRGC may try to blow it up, which, I mean, again, like that's possible. I think that they just should just make sure they can't use it, right? I feel like that's probably the best solution. It's easier to do that. Just use drones. I know. They should just use drones. I don't know what video this is, by the way. I don't know what the whole rest of it is. Video feels like a loading screen of a campaign mission. Yeah, I know that. And you're just a retard if you think this is a cakewalk. I mean, I don't know, guys. Like, I feel like we've totally fucking, like, we've lost more people to mistakes than we have to Iran. I feel like that's pretty substantial. Like, really, I mean, again, like, I mean, it's obviously bad, but I mean, I think it's pretty obvious where the war is going, right? I mean, pretty clearly we're winning, right? I don't know what else to say. Check Cappy Army on YouTube. Is that it? Yeah, I haven't even seen that. Taking Karg Island Battlefield 3 way was easy as fuck. Well, if it was easy in Battlefield 3, that means it probably will be easy in real life. It's a good point. I didn't think of that. And tiny strip of Iran's coast hosts 90% of Iran's oil exports. So this is the island right here that they started bombing. And in case you didn't have enough boots yet, imagine thousands of soldiers on this tiny island in front of Iran, completely exposed. Yeah, I don't really imagine something like that happening at all. And they've been training soldiers to take the island for 20 years. Yeah, but like, how are they going to deal with like missiles being shot from Iran into that area? Like, because like if they're using the resources for that, then they're not guarding the Strait of Hormuz, and it's just like obviously they can't even guard that. So I feel like they're probably not going to do it. I could be wrong, but that's just my guess. And is this the
10 Iranian oil barrels?
Yeah.
9 in 10 Iranian oil barrels passed through this small patch of land. Karg Island has continued shipping throughout the American barrage on Iran, spared until Friday night.
At my direction, the United States Central Command executed one of the most...
We saw this.
If Iran interferes with shipping through the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, that is a crazy thing for him to say. It is. Like, if Trump actually bombs this shit, I don't know what's going to happen, honestly.
Media also said no oil infrastructure was damaged, reporting hits on military bases, a helicopter hangar, and the airport control tower.
Yeah, it's pretty
Iran's
obvious they want to destroy the oil stuff.
Lifeline, and Tehran has.
How is destroying Iran's oil infrastructure good for the U.S. economy? Well, it's not really necessarily good directly, but the logic to it is that the IRGC makes money through the oil being sold there, so destroying their oil infrastructure would make it to where they weren't able to make any money. That would destabilize their funding, and it would destroy the organization because they couldn't pay anybody. That's the logic that they're using.
And a new level of retaliation.
You can disagree with that, but that's what's happening.
Oil companies across the region that have American shares or cooperate with America will be
soldiers don't fight for free.
destroyed and reduced to ashes.
A fifth of the world's oil passes from the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz, in large part to
Wouldn't
Asia.
this piss off China and Russia? They buy from there. That's the reason why we're using our oil reserves now, so we can sell to them in the process of resolving this conflict. And that's probably what I'm assuming happened is that Trump told China and Russia, we will keep the oil flowing without fucking you guys over. Just don't fuck with us in Iran. Which, I mean, honestly, that's smart. That's what, if I was him, that's what I would do.
While Iran launches attacks on neighboring states and threatens to strike tankers.
How will Iran rebuild oil capabilities?
The US Navy will escort ships through the strait.
Depends on what happens.
Oil prices continue to skyrocket.
Yeah, it's not a surprise at all. Well, how much is oil now? I don't even know if that's true. Oil prices today. Let's find out. Holy shit, it went back up. God damn, because it was really high for a bit. And then now it's, oh my God, it's going even higher than it was. Holy shit. I guess it's probably because of that bomb, right? Attacking that. U.S. is an oil exporter. I don't think this hurts oil prices long term. Well, it depends on what happens long term, right? I mean, that's it. But did you see USA wants to lift Russia's sanctions in the G7 meeting? And 1 out of 7 said so, and it's the USA. Yeah, I did see that. I saw it. I mean, I think that's what's going to happen. And we'll see how things go. Cargillon's most important piece of war. Avoided every military target. Deliberately left the oil infrastructure untouched. Yeah, obviously that's the case. I feel like that's clearly where things are going to go. Let me go and pull up a few more about this because, oh, no, this isn't really it. U.S. Marines. Wait a minute. U.S. Marines raising the American flag over the embassy in Caracas for the first time in 7 years. Man. Remember how everybody said that, we were going to go to Venezuela and it was going to be this long-term thing, and it was so stupid for us to have done that, and we didn't know what we were doing, and, you can't attack, yeah, totally, they're totally wrong about everything. Those damn forever wars? Yeah, I guess so. You talked about the Hassan clips played on Iranian state media? I did. I saw that. I think it makes sense, right? I mean, he's been running basically, there's been a lot of people that have, in my opinion, been an unknowing or an unwilling accomplice of the Iranian state media, the IRGC. A lot of these people that are trying to reframe the Iran war as just being for Israel or being in Israel's best interest only, I think those people are basically creating a permission structure that the Iranian government takes advantage of with their people through propaganda, and they use that as as justification to kill their own people. I think that they'd still kill their own people, don't get me wrong, but I think that having that permission structure makes it easier for them to do, and it makes it more politically expedient. Okay, how is it not, though? Well, I don't know. I mean, do you think the Iranian people are so stupid that they're all just being psyoped by Israel? Or do you think that maybe they don't want to have the country run by a murderous dictator tyrant who kills their own people? I wonder, do you really think that, coming to the conclusion that the Ayatollah is bad is something that they needed Israel to come to? They needed Israel to tell them this? What are we doing? What are we thinking? Excuse me. And yeah, retard spotter, to see his reaction to it. No, I didn't see it. I'll look at it, I guess. Where is it here? But yeah, let me see if there's any more of the images of this happening. And where is it? If I can find. No, this is more of that. Iran drones hitting. Oh, wow. More Iranian drones hitting refineries. Oh, good. Striking the economic infrastructure of the territory being used to launch the next phase of the war against them. Oh, good. Oh, great. And where is. No, that's not it. Oh, fuck. Okay, yeah, I'll find the other post about the Iranian state media. Removing agency of the Iranian people by constantly holding Israel responsible is such a shitty thing to do. It is, and it's being done by people who hate Israel more than they love America, which I think is a sad thing to say. Oh, this is it.
You made it onto Iran State News TV. Yeah, speaking of state broadcasters, your boy was on Iranian news. Goddamn mind that people fucking sit there and. Also, lots of cursing for Iranian TV. They let that slide.
میشینند و این چیزها رو جشن میگیرن. کودکان سلاخی میشوند و اونها میشینند و جشن میگیرند. این واقعا زننده است.
I have never seen. من تا حالا همچین
No, they put me with Sneeko. No.
Why would they do that? Why would that happen? Nobody knows.
Oh, I didn't realize. No, turn it off. Turn that shit off.
Man, I wonder why.
No. Wait, that
Terrible
makes it even funnier because
Mm-hmm.
the guy chirping at me was the fucking head of Twitch or something, or head of Kick.
Yeah.
Where is it? Oh yeah, Bijan Tehrani.
Yeah.
Who's the co-founder of Steak and Kick goes, imagine being in Iran with no internet, can't leave the house, and your only form of entertainment is Hassan reruns on state TV. I said, is this real? He's chirping,
but
this real? It turns out one of his main content creators was also on Iranian state television.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I don't know, is that supposed to be an own or something like that? I don't know, but it is definitely funny. Oh my God. And yeah, horseshoe theory proved real again. I guess so. And ending up in the exact same situation. Is this real? Yeah, I'd be wondering about it too. And President Trump reshaping the media. Oh my God. Yeah, that's good. And where is this here? I don't know if I can find any more of these. Oh, this is cutting ties with Nina Lynn. Oh, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. And that's a good thing, by the way. Holy fuck. And Novaru calls out Cutie Cinderella, recounting past drama where she kicked Novaru out of a party. Wow, that's crazy. Who gives a fuck? If I was 23, I'd care, okay? That was a long time ago. It's like over 10 years ago. Wow, it's so bad. That's awful. I can't believe she did that to you. Oh my God, what a fucking bitch. What a fucking bitch. Wow. The embassy in Venezuela reopens after 7 years. I saw that. I did. And that's good. Coughing? No, it's okay. The Islamic regime is arming Bashi women to suppress protesters in Iran. Oh, good. Oh, good. Official Asmongold is streaming on Rumble using Rumble Studio using our free multi-streaming tool. Very, very true. That's right. And yes, the Islamic regime is arming women. Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah. Man. Has there ever been a time in history where an empire wasn't on the verge of collapse at the point that it started enlisting its women into fighting the wars? Like, I feel like this is like one of those moments where it's like every other time in history when you have them sending out women, it's like, uh-oh. It's like in StarCraft when you know you're cooked, when you're using your your fucking what are they called, the little worker units to go and try to like fucking 3-man a Zergling or something like that. Like, you know it's over. Yeah, the SCVs. Yeah, the moment you see the SCVs trying to swarm one fucking siege engine, oh, it's over. It's over. I win. Yep, it's done. Yep. Zerg small unit. Yeah. Man, that is sad, bro. Like, they're gonna get those women killed too. That's sad. Really sad to see it happening, but that's just the way it goes. Hundreds of pro Second Amendment. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is some other bullshit. And Second Amendment Americans show up to forcefully oppose Governor Spanberger's impending draconian gun bill. And oh no, 30-round AR-15 magazines were handed out. 30 round. I thought 30 round is like the standard. I feel like, I mean, from my extensive military knowledge that's been derived from both Call of Duty and also PUBG, usually most machine guns have. You know, it's 30 rounds. I was right. That's what I thought. How many are man? Can't tell. Yeah. They want to limit it to 10? Really? Why wouldn't somebody just bring 2 guns? If it's an AR-15, shouldn't they limit it to 15? I feel like that would make more sense. Damn, that's a lot of people. Just bring 3 guns? Yeah, I guess so. That's what you used to do with the shotgun. And remember that in Fortnite, whenever you double pump and you'd have one shotgun, then you'd shoot it, and then during the reload, you'd put up the other shotgun, and then you'd swap them back and forth, bro. Like that shit. Like, I remember watching somebody that was really good playing like that. Oh my God, it was so good. And Iran has collapsed. Uh-oh. Here we go. Jesus. Uh-oh. Remember the Patriot? Just bring more guns? Yeah. God damn. Look at everybody run around, too. I think Grok said this is old. Oh, it could be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it falling apart, right? And this is also in Iran, too. Residential building belonging to one of the IRGC Aerospace Force Ballistic Missile Battalion commanders. Why would you be there? Why would you be here? Shouldn't have been here. Shouldn't have been there. Nope. Probably from January? Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, it's just that over there, it's just been so... Iranian media claims Benjamin Netanyahu was killed after a hypersonic missile struck his home. I don't believe this. I don't believe it. I don't. The report alleges that Israel could delay the announcement and later say he died from an unexplained medical condition, such as an aneurysm, to conceal what actually happened. Is this true? No, this isn't true. Oh, okay. Well, Grok says it's not true. Iranian state media has been rebuked. They're wrong, as always. And I think he's injured at minimum. Well, I have no idea what's happening. I mean, I do find it to be very suspicious and quite odd that he has made no statement and no attempt to assuage the public into thinking that he is alive. I find that to be substantial. I do. I'm not saying that he's dead. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that it's odd that he hasn't come out and said that he's fine. It's odd. It is. Yeah, it's Saturday. He's the prime fucking minister, and it's the middle of a war. What do you mean it's Saturday? You think this is the EU? What the fuck are you talking about? It's Saturday. Get the fuck to work. You don't stop. What do you mean it's... Oh, it's Saturday. Guys, this is my day off. What do you mean they bombed us again? Can somebody else handle this? Yeah, that's not how it works, guys. Must be posting from EU. Yeah, it's tea time. Oh, my God. And where are these here? I'll find the other... a man stole a car and pulled a gun when surrounded by 6 officers. Yeah, how'd that turn out for him? It looks like all the bullet holes in the car, he's dead. Well, that's what you get. Shouldn't have done it. Honestly, somebody has that happen. It's up to them. Complete overthrow of Iranian regime is only a matter of time. What is this? Some of these could be from before. Damn.
Damn, it's old. Yeah, I feel like a lot of these are probably from January. All these people are probably dead, unfortunately. And what is this? Wait, is this the new one? No, I saw this one. This was from yesterday. A notorious regime police compound has been destroyed. Wait, is this the same? Oh my God, look at it. You see that right there? This is the police compound. Damn, and both of these other buildings are totally fine. The site functioned as not only a police station, but also as a Passage-linked security base where regime forces had reportedly fired on civilians from inside the building. That seems pretty bad. Who would do that? And so here it is right here. Look, and you can see the same. Look at them windows. Look at them windows. You see them windows? Same windows. Yeah. They dropped the Minecraft TNT. They would never do that? Yeah. God damn. Wish granted. There was like a delayed fuse explosive. It took 2 months to go off. You almost made me deaf. I know. I do my best with the audio, but it's not equalized. That was a police compound? It was. Not anymore. And I think this, by the way, now that they're attacking these bases, there is a requisite amount of these bases that will be destroyed that will cause the Iranian leadership to destabilize. I think so. I think that if you kill enough of their militia members, if you kill enough of their police, that they will just simply not have the numbers to stop an armed resistance from taking over. That's just what's going to happen. They have to get arms. Well, I mean, what do you think is going to happen, though? You're going to have all the people go into these areas and loot the guns. That's what's going to happen. Like, the IRGC probably aren't going to go in there, right? They might try to get some of them, but they're going to probably be afraid because they don't want to get double tapped, right? Because, like, that's what we did before. So a lot of them are probably going to get the guns. And none of these things will happen. Okay, all right, we'll see what happens. And again, I've made it pretty clear about that happening. What is this here? Protect his family. Sikh restaurant. Wait, what? Restaurant owner arrested for not selling halal meat? Today, the man protecting his family was the one arrested? Wait, what? The hell is this? It was in London? Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, sure. And Restore Britain is overtaking the Conservative Party in leadership numbers. I wouldn't be surprised. And detailed message fuels rumors. Oh, boy. That's some other bullshit. Netanyahu is just fine. He's currently meeting Shinzo Abe. Okay, guys. All right, let's see here. Oh, is this the fucking, that protest? That guy's a Sikh. He's getting attacked by Islamists every day for not selling halal and having a sign calling them inbreds. And Windows said they said no halal food, and the Muslims attacked a restaurant. I don't know why, like, I don't know why there is so much willingness to deal with such very, very obvious, in my opinion, just complete discord and chaos. Why is there so much chaos that's allowed? It's crazy to me. I really don't understand it. I'll be right back. I'm back. Calm down. Relax. We're good. Okay. Okay, I should post a video. What is this here of the pro-Islamic protesters clashing with anti-Islamic? All right, I'll look and see that. And where the fuck is this? Here, Trey, where is it? The guy at the restaurant posted a window on the sign. They said no halal. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like bullshit to me. But what is this? Oh, God. Yeah, this is it. Oh, God. Yeah. Uh-oh. Jesus. Man. Wow. It's kind of funny to see. It's insane. Yeah, it is. Iran is Palestine now? Surprise. You didn't know that? You didn't know that, idiot? Yeah, it is. That's the way it is now, guys. Let them fight? I guess so. And again, I am of the mindset that we need to get a lot of these people, like any of these terrorism supporters, if they're not citizens, we got to deport them. Like, what are we doing? Like, you're promoting terrorism, you're advocating for terrorism inside of the country, you're not a citizen. What the hell is going on? And, uh-oh. Man. I love to see this. Threat thing that they're playing, like I mean, it depends on what's happening. What is this?
He gave it.
No, well, see, I did not even notice that. Like, god damn, bro. Like, he's really. Comments say about this. Girls be.
In my opinion, that was disgraceful.
Oh.
And all done from the
like
safety of your chair.
Oops.
I have attended the immediate
punishment. He had to take like a
mental.
With
Yeah. Me, is it? No, it's not even me.
Doing nothing.
Accommodation in
the people who have had their privacy violated.
What the fuck is stopping us?
Out with the straight of four moves.
What's that?
Hot take. Voting truly hasn't mattered since the...
You live in an ivory tower. You don't...
Then what?
Has the United States started a war it does not know how to end?
We're not winning against Iran. We're not winning. What message are we sending? We're sending a message that we're a bunch of fools.
The Iran war, this was just a few weeks ago. Professor John Mearsheimer from the University of Chicago, he warned that US military strikes on Iran could unleash forces that the United States might struggle to control. Now, as the war deepens and things are indeed spiraling out of control, we ask him, how does this war end? John, always great to be with you.
Glad to be here as always, Tom.
Now, John, the war is now in its third week. Washington insists it's winning. It is destroying Iran's missiles, its launches, its productions, not to mention the Navy. How do you read things 3 weeks into the war?
Well, Tom, the key issue is always, what does it mean to say you're winning? Or when President Trump says we have effectively won the war, what exactly does that mean? People like to say that when the United States and Israel slam a particular set of targets, this is evidence that we're winning. But that's not the way you want to think about this. Winning is all about achieving a particular set of objectives. As I like to emphasize, we won every battle in Vietnam, every battle, and we lost the war. So what are our goals here? And are we close to achieving them? It's quite clear to me that the principal goal is, and the principal goal has to be, regime change. We have to get a regime change. And in place of the existing regime, we have to get a regime that will dance to our tune, will be willing to do away with all of its nuclear enrichment capability, will be willing to get rid of Iranian ballistic missiles, will be willing to cut off aid to Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. And the only way you get those particular objectives is with regime change and getting a new regime that, again, will work with the United States and Israel. And we are nowhere near achieving regime change. And in fact, if anything, we're heading in the other direction. So it's hard to see how the United States and Israel win this war.
Which is why Iran has a vested interest in a long war, because as you've argued elsewhere, and indeed on this program before the war, the strategy here by the Iranians is to impose costs on the Americans to make sure that Iran gets concessions, including that America and Israel won't strike at Iran again, right?
Exactly. I don't have much to add to what you said. There's no question that from Iran's point of view, you want to turn this into a protracted war, because the longer it lasts, the more leverage you have. The Israelis and the Americans were counting on a quick and decisive victory. They thought they could go in, do the job, achieve their political objectives, and that would be the end of the story. But once they didn't do that, first with the decapitation strategy on the opening day, and then with the failure of the punishment strategy over the past
I don't believe in hell. I think that we are living in hell. I think this earth is meant to be hell. Hell is something that we create in ourselves. It's not created in the universe.
So is Epstein going to have?
Okay, that's a really hard question to answer, okay? Because again, there is no hell. According to the Kabbalah, it's not really about good versus evil. It's really about action versus inaction. It's really about
Gen Z boss and a mini. Gen Z boss and a mini. EVTs and a bomb. EVTs and a bomb.
Toilet log number 1.
The other day, I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of.
As you know, there are.
Past 3 weeks, you're into a situation where it looks like it's going to go on and on, the war, that is. And of course, as you pointed out quite correctly, the Iranians have a vested interest in seeing that happen because their leverage over us increases as the war lengthens in time.
The Iranians have warned, just in the course of the last 24, 48 hours, they've warned major US corporations in the region. So your Lockheed Martins, your Boeings, your Exxons, and so on and so forth. Tehran has warned them to evacuate. And this is Iran trying to achieve what precisely by attacking these Gulf countries, Kuwait, UAE, Saudi Arabia? Is that part of the same strategy that's part of the attempt to shut down the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, I think the Iranians have a number of different strategies at play here. One is they are going after American banks and American businesses. And I think what they're trying to do is drive our businesses out of the Gulf. And then they're going after American bases like the naval base at Bahrain and the air bases in Saudi Arabia. So they're pounding away at our military bases at the same time they're pounding away at these business targets. And then they're also pounding away at the various Gulf states. And I think the aim there is to convince the Gulf states that having a close relationship with the United States and even Israel is misguided. And in fact, you want to, if you're a Gulf state, distance yourself from the United States. So they have a very clever strategy that is designed to undermine America's position in the Persian Gulf.
But for John, for that strategy to work, Tehran would want those US bases shut down, but there's no sign of that happening, right? I mean, if anything, the Gulf states are angry with Tehran for striking at them.
Well, the Gulf states are angry at Iran. There's no question about that. But they're also angry at the United States. They fully understand that it's the United States that dragged them into this mess, the United States and Israel. It wasn't Iran that started this war. And they understand full well that Iran wanted to avoid the war. So when the war is finally over with, they're going to face a very difficult choice, whether to continue to ally with with the United States, or to switch sides and distance themselves in profound ways from the United States and cozy up to the Iranians. So which one of those two policies do you choose? And then you might add to that, I think a country like Saudi Arabia is going to think about getting nuclear weapons. You want to remember the Saudis said if Iran got nuclear weapons, Saudi Arabia would get nuclear weapons. And Saudi Arabia financed the Pakistani bomb. And many people believe that the Pakistanis would help Iran and maybe Saudi Arabia get nuclear weapons if need be. So this is a very interesting situation that we're in now in terms of what the alliance structure looks like moving forward.
And that brings us to the Strait of Hormuz. That's the source, obviously, of the energy price spike around the world. How long, John, do you suspect the Iranians want to shut it down?
Well, they want to keep it shut down until there is a negotiated settlement to this war, because shutting down the Straits of Hormuz provides them with enormous leverage. And this is why the new Ayatollah who's in charge, Ayatollah Khamenei II, has said explicitly that they're going to keep the Strait shut down. So I don't think you're going to see them open until the war is over with.
Yeah, but does Iran have the capacity to do that in the midst of all these airstrikes from the United States, not to mention the tight sanctions? I mean, it is an isolated regime now more than ever. Does it have the capacity to keep doing this?
I think there's no question that they have the capacity to keep the Strait shut down. We can bomb them till kingdom come, and they'll continue to keep the Strait shut down. There's just no problem there. And if I'm wrong and they shut down the Straits, there's another way to deal with the problem, and that's to bomb any ship that's in the Persian Gulf. Any ship that comes through the Straits into the Persian Gulf, they can bomb those ships. They can bomb the ports that those ships are supposed to dock at inside the Persian Gulf. And furthermore, if they don't want any oil going out of the Persian Gulf, all they have to do is target all the oil and natural gas installations in the Gulf. There are not many installations. They're big, fat targets. And they could then shut down the production of oil and gas, and it wouldn't matter whether the straits are open or closed. So they are playing a very powerful hand here. You know, President Trump is talking about taking naval forces and getting the Europeans and the Chinese and the Japanese and the South Koreans to send naval forces so that we can storm the straits, blow through with a big naval armada. I wish them good luck on that one. I think that's a losing proposition. And I think the U.S. Navy has told President Trump that for good reason.
So your point, just to clarify, John, is that Iran's capacity to endure pain is greater than the capacity of the Americans to do the same. That's essentially what you're arguing.
Absolutely. Look, the historical record, Tom, is clear that countries like Iran, when they're bombed, and that's all we're doing is bombing Iran. We're not invading Iran the way we invaded Iraq and producing regime change that way. We're simply bombing away. That regimes can absorb enormous amounts of punishment and not quit. The historical record is perfectly clear that bombing alone does not produce regime change. And as I said at the top of the show, you don't get regime change, you don't achieve any of those objectives. So they can bomb and bomb. It's just not going to make any difference. But the other point that you want to keep in mind, which is truly important,
let me ask you
which
a
is
question.
one we have not talked about, is that the Iranians can retaliate. They are striking Israel. They are striking American forces in the Gulf, as we talked about. They have a second strike capability here. They can inflict pain on us. And by the way, Tom, there's already evidence beginning to appear in the mainstream media that Israel is running out of defensive missiles. And one can only imagine what's happening to our stock of ammunitions, which is going to have huge implications for not only the war in Ukraine, but for containing China and East Asia.
Okay, but doesn't that argument apply both ways? Surely Iran is running out of drones and missiles as well, right?
No, I think that when you look at ballistic missiles against missiles that are designed to shoot them down, let's call them defensive missiles, it's the ballistic missiles that have all the advantages. They're much cheaper to build, number one. And number two, you have to use probably about 2 defensive missiles to stand a reasonable chance of shooting down one of the incoming ballistic missiles. So the cost exchange ratio decisively favors the offenders. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about Iran and there is Israel here or Iran and the United States. Any two countries where one has ballistic missiles and the other has defensive missiles aimed at shooting them down, the advantage goes to the side with ballistic missiles. And the fact is that the Iranians have a huge number of ballistic missiles and drones. And both the Americans and the Israelis have a limited number of defensive missiles.
Okay, well, let's turn to this Karg Island operation. It's happened over the weekend. Question, will the heavy US bombardment, it's a tiny, but it's a crucial Iranian island, could that be a game changer? I mean, the president President Trump says he's executed one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East. It's effectively destroyed Iran's military infrastructure on the island. And remember, this is a commercial lifeline for the Iranian regime. Is that a big setback for Tehran?
No, not at all. I mean, first of all, there are two sets of targets on Harg Island. One are the military targets, which we went after, and then the economic targets or the oil infrastructure, which we did not go after. And the reason we did not go after those oil infrastructure, is we know that the Iranians would retaliate by going after oil infrastructure in places like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and so forth and so on.
That gets back to your going up the escalation ladder, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Tom. It's just important to realize that both sides have not gone up the escalation ladder in a serious way as of now regarding targeting the other side's oil infrastructure or targeting desalination plant.
Yep.
So in a very important way, both sides have something of what one might call an assured destruction capability held in reserve. And so to go back to your question about Harg Island, we didn't hit the economic targets or the oil targets there, we hit the military. I would imagine that we did significant damage. I would imagine there's still substantial military forces intact, Iranian military forces. And if we were really serious about doing anything about Harg Island militarily, we would have to invade the island. And I think that's almost impossible to do.
Well, hang on, but there is already talk, correct me if I'm wrong, John, there is already talk of reinforcements heading to the Gulf, additional US warships, possibly several thousand US Marines with amphibious capabilities. I mean, do you think that Washington might seriously consider seizing and holding this Harg Island militarily?
Well, I raised that question to myself, Tom, and I looked at a map and I said, how would you do this? First of all, this Marine Expeditionary Force that's being sent to the Gulf is coming out of East Asia. So you, as a good Australian, want to realize that what we're doing is weakening our containment policy in East Asia. Second point I'd make to you is it's coming with this amphibious assault ship. How do you get the amphibious assault ship through the straits, right? It has to get into the Gulf. It's outside the Gulf. It has to come through the Strait of Hormuz. I don't see how you do that. But let's assume they airlift the Marines to the Saudi side of the Persian Gulf. And then they decide that they're going to take those troops and send them across the Persian Gulf to attack Harg Island, because that's the only way you get to Harg Island. You have to go from Saudi Arabia across the Persian Gulf.
Right.
I looked at a map. It's between 100 to 135 miles from the Saudi coast to Harg Island.
And it's something like 20 miles away from the Iranian coast, correct?
Yeah, I think 15 miles, but it may be 20 miles. What I saw said
maybe 20 kilometers.
Yeah, I think that's right. It was 20 kilometers. But the point is, how do we get the Marines from Saudi Arabia across the Persian Gulf without them getting shot up And then let's assume that's all wrong. Let's assume we come up with a magical formula and we take Harg Island.
Yes.
What? So what?
Well, I was going to say, would they be extremely vulnerable to Iranian missiles, drones, and other attacks?
Would who?
The Americans, if the ground troops took the island.
They certainly would. They obviously
Well,
would.
this is mission creep.
Well, look.
This is boots on the ground, essentially. If that
Tom,
happened.
what invariably happens in warfare, when you set out to achieve a quick and decisive victory, is that if you don't gain that objective, you don't win a quick and decisive victory, you slowly but steadily go up the escalation ladder as you find yourself in a war of attrition. And that's what we're in now. We're in a war of attrition. Both sides are trying to bloody each other. There's no end in sight. And we're slowly but steadily going up the escalation ladder. But as we said before, and we want to keep this in mind, nobody's really seriously attacking the other side's oil and gas infrastructure. But otherwise, we're going up the escalation ladder. We are looking for a way to rescue the situation, to win the war, because we fully understand that we're not in a good position to fight a protracted war. Neither are the Israelis, and the Iranians are. So if you're in a situation like that, what do you do? How do you get out of it? I don't think there's any way to get out of it. I think you're playing a losing hand. But what the administration here is trying to do, and what the Israelis are trying to do, is escalate in a smart way and try to win this one.
Let's change the subject, because some of your critics would say you're overlooking the internal dynamics in Iran at play here. And as you know, we talked about this at the time. In January, many thousands of brave, primarily young Iranians protested against the regime. They were massacred by the regime, a lot of them. Surely the democratic opposition to the regime, this is what your critics would say to you, John, doesn't that hurt the regime's efforts to fight a long campaign?
There's no evidence that that's happening, Tom, and all the evidence is exactly the opposite, as you would expect. Again, we have a rich historical record here. I mean, there are whole literatures on this subject that when you bomb countries, people rally around the flag. And what we're doing in Iran is ideally suited for causing a rally around the flag effect. We're bombing and killing civilians. We had this horrendous episode at the start of the war where a Tomahawk missile launched by the United States, I think accidentally, hit a girls' school and killed over 170 little girls. Furthermore, we're going after cultural sites. We're going after some of the most important historical and cultural sites in Iran and destroying them. It's mainly the Israelis, of course, who are doing this, which is exactly what you would expect from them, given their barbaric behavior in Gaza. But regardless, the end result of that is going to cause a rally around the flag effect inside of Iran. And then my final point to you is, show me an example of where bombing a country, the way we're bombing Iran, led to the people rising up and overthrowing the regime.
Well, the no-fly zone against Gaddafi's Libya in 2011, didn't that help bring down the Gaddafi regime?
That's not a serious operation. That's not, comparable to what's going on here. We didn't launch a bombing campaign against Libya. People bring that case up, but that case shouldn't be brought to bear. You can talk about Iraq, you can talk about the World War II cases, the bombing of North Korea, bombing of Vietnam. There are a lot of other cases too, but the Libya case doesn't fit.
Okay. Now, in other words, what you're saying here on this issue about Iranian resistance to the regime, essentially you're saying many Western media outlets are naive and just assuming that the protesters are, if not pro-American, then anti-regime. That's your line.
It's not only my line. The Israeli government is saying this, and the U.S. government is saying this. This ship is sailed, Tom.
Okay, John, if you're right, and Washington has fundamentally misjudged Iran's resolve and its willingness to fight a long war, and it is true that Trump was surprised that the Iranians were hitting back at the Gulf countries. He said he was surprised about that. Now, you studied at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point in the 1960s. You also served in the United States Air Force in the 1970s. So I'm assuming you'd be very well aware of the old military dictum warning those who go to war to remember that the enemy also has a plan, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, Tom, anybody who plays a lot of sports like I did when I was young and you did when you were young understands that if you punch somebody in the face, they're going to punch back. Or, you know, if you have a particular strategy in a football game, the other side is going to look at what your strategy is, and it's going to make the necessary adjustments. Teams learn in the course of a game. They learn over the course of a season. And if you look at the Iranians, it's quite clear that they learned a lot in the June war last year, and they're learning a lot now.
Well,
and I think
but see, this is what Trump would probably say to you. He said, why didn't the Iranians do this back then? Why didn't the Iranians close down the Gulf, keep it closed while spreading the war and inflicting as much regional mayhem as possible to maximize economic pain on the world? Why didn't they do it then? But they're doing it now. That's what he would say to you. That's why he's confused.
Well, because in the June War, let's go back to the June War, because your question is a great question. The June War of last year starts on the 13th and goes to the 25th of June. Okay? And just remember, the Americans attack on one day. It was on June 22nd. All the other days, it was the Israelis at work, and it was the Israelis who started the war. So the war was really a war between Israel and Iran. And the United States, except for that one day, was not involved. And the Iranians had no interest in picking a fight with us. And they were content to deal with the Israelis alone. And parenthetically, Tom, I would note that there were many more Iranian missiles dropped on Israel in the first 12 days of that war than there have been in the first 12 days of this war, because that war was all about Israel, the 12-day war. This war involves the United States from the beginning and Israel from the beginning. You want to remember, Tom, when the war started on February 28th, the United States and Israel, acting as a tag team, attacked Iran. So the Americans were in the war from the get-go in this conflict. This is a much bigger conflict because we attacked Iran. Therefore, as you would expect, the Iranians not only went after Israel, they went after the United States' allies in the Gulf states, and so forth and so on. And therefore, you have a much bigger war. And it is very difficult for us to figure out how to get out of this one. Going back to the 12-day war and just talking about the U.S., it was a one and done. Trump went in. He basically signaled to the Iranians we were going to come in and hit them, but asked them, in effect, not to hit back in any meaningful way. They accommodated us. And after his one-day attack, he declared victory. It was vintage Trump. It's what he loves.
And, of course, these attacks, these response by the Iranians was carefully telegraphed and choreographed with the Americans, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
John, let's change the subject a bit and return to this issue of military operations in the Strait of Hormuz. So we're mid to late March, 3 weeks into the war. Now, Trump has been calling on other countries to contribute naval forces to help secure shipping through that strait. What complications would a multinational naval operation like that face?
Look, Tom, the United States has the most powerful Navy by far in the world. There's nobody who even comes close to us. And we have parked our Navy far away from the Straits of Hormuz. We have not been willing to move that Navy near the Straits of Hormuz because we live in
fear that the Iranians would take a cruise missile and put one of our capital ships to the bottom of the Jolly Roger. That's what's going on here. So you can bring the French and the British into the game. You're just going to have a bigger set of targets for the Iranians to shoot at. The idea that the French and the British have magical capabilities that we don't have is not a serious argument.
Mind you, Europe especially has a strong interest in keeping those energy routes open, and they have significant naval capabilities. I mean, couldn't that just broaden the pro-American coalition against Iran here that frankly doesn't have a navy at the moment, right?
Who cares? They don't need a navy. All they need are cruise missiles, mines, ballistic missiles. I mean, President Trump likes to make much of the fact that the Americans sunk the Iranian Navy. So what?
Yeah.
Who cares? Is that going to lead to opening the Straits of Hormuz? No, it's not.
Many people tuning in would still be confused because they would say, quite rightly, that Tehran relies on oil exports for its financing, whereas the US has ample oil and gas supplies. And let's not forget, America's faced much worse with respect to the price of oil. It was a lot higher, I think, after the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February, March 2022. So, Iran has more to lose here with shutting down these straits. That's what the critics would put to you, John.
Well, let's be clear, because this is a tricky issue. It's important to understand that Iran is sending its own oil out of the Persian Gulf through the Straits of Hormuz now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Iran is sending oil out of the Gulf. Furthermore, Iran has a big oil port outside of the Gulf, outside of the Persian Gulf, in the Gulf of Oman, and oil is leaving that port and going around the world. So Iranian oil is flowing.
Right.
And this gets back to the all-important point that I made to you before, is that we've not gone up the escalation ladder yet in terms of shutting down the oil-producing capabilities of all the players in the Gulf region, to include Iran as well. So it's very surprising to a lot of people, me included, but the United States has not stopped Iranian oil from going to places outside of the Gulf. Again, let's assume that we decide we're going to put an end to that and that we're going to go and target Iranian oil facilities.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Okay, let's assume that we do that. They're going to go up the escalation ladder and do egregious damage to the various Gulf states and their oil producing capability. And this would not be good for the world economy. I mean, you want to remember that the real ace that the Iranians have up their sleeve is that they can do devastating damage to the world economy. If they shut off the flow of all oil out of the Gulf, including, and that would include their oil if the Americans shut Iranian oil down, and all sorts of other things. 1/3 of the world's fertilizer comes through the Persian Gulf, and you know how important fertilizer is for developing countries in terms of food production. I was reading somewhere where like 10 to 15% of the world's aluminum comes through there. And the Dubai airport is terribly important for international transportation around the world. So, if we end up in a situation where the Middle East is effectively wrecked, the economic consequences would be huge.
Well, John, let's bring China in here. Where does that fit in here? Because you have a lot of Western commentators. There was a column in the Australian newspaper just today saying that the US is targeting Iran in a strategic move to rein in China. And as you know, Senator Lindsey Graham, the Republican from South Carolina, he says all of this is China's nightmare. That's what he told Fox News a few days ago. John.
I don't believe that there's any evidence that President Trump launched this offensive because he was concerned about China and he saw this as a way of weakening China. I mean, it is possible.
Could that be a consequence of this? And that's bad news for China, isn't it? I mean, because they buy more Qatari gas and Gulf oil than anyone, correct?
Well, there are other places you can get oil, Tom, and one of them is Russia. And we ought to talk about what this war is doing for Russia.
Yeah, sure.
What this means for the Ukraine war. This is wonderful news for Vladimir Putin.
Well, I was just going to say, because a lot of the same critics saying this is bad news for China are saying that US smashing Iran also sends a clear signal to Moscow in its war with Ukraine. How's that argument playing out?
We're not winning against Iran. We're not winning. What message are we sending? We're sending a message that we're a bunch of fools. That we started a war we can't win.
Yeah.
The FT had a big editorial today. This is the Financial Times, which is very sympathetic to the United States and the various cockamamie schemes that we come up with. The Financial Times usually supports us. They're saying we had no clear objective. We didn't have the required military forces to achieve any of the objectives that we were floating, and we had no plan. That's what they say. And of course, they're correct.
Yes.
So the question you want to ask yourself is, what does this tell the Chinese and what does it tell the Russians? It tells them that we are incompetent. And of course, the Russians have had enough dealings with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to fully understand just how incompetent we are.
Yeah, and we should make it very clear that the Americans have granted Russia sanctions relief in order to allow more oil into global markets. Now, that presumably represents a windfall for Vladimir Putin in his campaign against Ukraine. The Europeans must be flabbergasted, John.
They're flabbergasted and outraged. And on top of that, we're burning through Patriot missiles, the PAC-3 Patriot missiles, which the and THAADs too. And the Patriots are what the Ukrainians are begging, that the Ukrainians are begging for. And we're burning them up in the Middle East. And by the way, Tom, just get back to East Asia again. We're pulling Patriots and THAADs out of East Asia. These weapons are there to contain China. So before I said that Marine Expeditionary Force, which is going to the Middle East, is coming out of East Asia, so are THAADs and Patriots. This just shows you how desperate we are. Look, I want to emphasize very strongly that General Kane, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was handpicked by President Trump to be the chairman.
Even though he was a 3-star general. But go on.
Yeah, he was a 3-star general who was brought out of retirement. He was made a 4-star general and made chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff by President Trump. So he's President Trump's man. He has, however, behaved admirably throughout this whole run-up to the war and in the war itself. And General Kane has made it unequivocally clear that we could not win a war of the sort that we're now in, and that we don't have the necessary munitions to sustain a long war. And if you look at what's happening now, we're just seeing his assessment play itself out.
Well, John, you've been describing a remarkably dangerous scenario here. So just to clarify, you're saying the US can't win this war. And now here's something to ponder. If Israel believes it's losing the war with Iran, and that, of course, this is all providing, as you've argued before, a powerful incentive for the Iranians to actually develop a nuclear weapon. And I can't believe I'm even asking you this question, but could all of what we've discussed, could all of that create the circumstances in which Israeli leaders might contemplate the use of nuclear weapons themselves?
Well, this war was designed to make sure that Iran never had the capability to develop nuclear weapons. It's clearly going to fail. And by all accounts, the Iranians have 400 or so kilograms of 60% enriched uranium that they can easily turn into weapons-grade material. And even if they didn't have that 400 kilograms, they could easily just create more weapons-grade material. They have the enrichment capability. So in terms of destroying their capability, Iran's capability to develop nuclear weapons, we've done nothing of any consequence in this attack. Furthermore, we have incentivized Iran to get nuclear weapons. Everybody is saying that it was the North Koreans who were the smart actors among the smaller states. It was not the Colonel Gaddafis or the Iranians.
Well, they saw what happened to Gaddafi when he gave up his nuclear weapons, right?
That's exactly right. So North Korea has its own nuclear deterrent, and of course, Iran does not. So they're surely going to seriously contemplate getting nuclear weapons. And just to add to this, by the way, Ayatollah Khamenei, who was murdered on February 28th, was, by almost all accounts, the principal block to Iran getting nuclear weapons.
Wow, isn't that ironic? Yeah.
Isn't that ironic? And almost everybody agrees that his son, who is now the new head of Iran, is more likely to get nuclear weapons. So anyway, what we want to understand, Tom, is that when the war is over with, there are going to be powerful incentives for Iran to get nuclear weapons, and it's going to have the capability, for sure. And if you look at the Israelis, and they think about how horrible that situation would be for them, and they believe that Iran is an existential threat. There's no question about that. And they fully recognize that they can't take it out with conventional means. I think that the likelihood that they will countenance using nuclear weapons is substantial.
Well, I mean, surely Washington would try to rein them in, or even the Sunni Gulf states that have been getting closer to Israel in the course of the last decade or so. Wouldn't they want to rein Israel in?
How do you rein them in? If they think they're facing an existential threat, it's their finger that's on the trigger, not yours.
Yeah. I note that the former Saudi intelligence chief, Prince Turki al-Faisal, he was responding to a question about whether the main threat to the region comes from Iran or Israel. This was just over the last few days. He says it's Israel, quote, Israel is the one stirring the problems and it must be restrained. John.
He's right, except for one qualification. It's not just Israel, it's the United States as well. What he doesn't seem to fully understand is that the United States and Israel are a tag team, and they operate together. So the principal danger to Saudi Arabia is not simply Israel, it's Israel and the United States.
Let's just get back to this fundamental point about ending the war. The president wants to end the war. He wants to do it while preserving American credibility. Now, there is a widespread view, John, that Washington and Israel alone determine the course of events. They'll decide when the war begins, when it ends, and the terms Iran must accept. You've said that won't work, but the president does say he will end it, and this is what he said to Fox News just the other day. The war will end when I feel it in my bones. Is that how international relations works?
No. President Trump is given to saying all these outrageous things that anybody who's studied international politics 101 knows make no sense at all. Again, this gets back to what we were talking about before when we said anytime you get in a fight or you go to war or you get involved in a football game, there are two sides, and one side doesn't hold all the cards, right? And if you're going to end this war, it's not only the Americans and the Israelis who have to agree to end it, the Iranians have to agree.
Yeah, but hang on, mate. You're saying basically, John, that the Americans and the Israelis increasingly have little leverage here to end this because you need the Iranians to be part of the negotiations. But at the same time, surely there are limits on Tehran's ability to dictate terms to Washington and Jerusalem.
Oh, there's no question about that. I mean, there's no way when you finally get a negotiating process or a bargaining process that Iran is going to get everything it wants. I agree with that completely. But they're going to have some pretty stiff demands. They're going to want sanctions relief. I want to see President Trump sell sanctions relief in the U.S. Congress or with the Israelis. They're probably going to want reparations, for all the damage that's been done. And furthermore, and maybe most importantly, they're going to want a security environment where there's some guarantees that this is not going to happen again.
How could they trust the Americans and the Israelis, though, after what's happened, not just this time, but in 2024 and 2025?
Well, the answer is they can't trust them. You're exactly right. And that raises the question, how do you come up with some sort of final settlement or some sort of armistice, if you don't want to go that far, that deals with the problem that you just described? I'm not sure how you do it. Do you get the Russians and the Chinese involved in a serious way? Do they act as guarantors of Iranian security? Because you're absolutely right, Tom. You know, if we have a ceasefire, this is why the Iranians won't agree to a ceasefire. You have a ceasefire now, 6 months from now, the Israelis and the Americans will pay a return visit. You don't want that to happen if you're Iran. So how do you prevent it? And it is a really tricky issue.
John, next week on this program, we will deal with the political fallout from this war. It's never been popular among the American public. We've talked about this before. And the clamouring for the president to end the war will obviously increase, including from Republicans who fear higher gasoline prices. That will just, upset a lot of middle America in the lead up to November's midterm elections. Now, in his State of the Union address a few days before he launched strikes on Iran, this was a 2-hour speech. The president dedicated 1 minute to Iran. Why didn't Trump prepare the country better before the war?
I don't know. It's very hard to say. I have two possible views of how this war began. One view is that in late December of last year, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu sat down, talked about Iran, and agreed that they were going to go to war. And what they did was make plans and do all sorts of things to provide cover between last December and February 28th, that 2-month period. But the decision was made in late December. That's one view. Another view is that Trump made no such commitment in late December. He continued to talk to Netanyahu about doing this. He said it was a serious possibility. He understood full well that the United States might have to do it. But he was very hopeful that he could get a deal with the Iranians and he could avoid a war. So in that story, the second story, he's not preparing the American people for war because he thinks he can avoid it. And the most important piece of information I can give you, Tom, to support the second view is that Steve Witkoff said right before the war started that President Trump was surprised that after he sent the Armada to the Middle East, that the Iranians did not throw up their hands and capitulate. That tells you that President Trump was expecting the Iranians to be coerced into accepting a deal short of war. But of course, they never accepted the deal that President Trump wanted. Yeah. And at that point, given how hard Prime Minister Netanyahu was pushing him to go to war, and given the extent to which President Trump is joined at the hip with the Israelis, he felt that he had no choice but to go. And I would note the Israelis were surely telling him this would be a quick and decisive victory. And in light of what happened in Venezuela, he thought he could float like a butterfly and sting like a bee and so forth and so on. So he attacked. But I think that's the more likely story. And if that is correct, then you can see why he didn't prepare the American people. And indeed, you can see why he went to war when only about 20% of the American people favored a war.
Yeah, we talked about this at the time. Yeah, very low opinion support. A reminder of the limits of American power and even the madman theory. John, Patrick Coburn from The Independent, whom you know of at least, I've interviewed him several times. He's written a piece in the last day or so, and he makes the point that when you think of British and American leaders whose political careers were capsized by Middle East crises, you think of Anthony Eden in 1956 with the Suez Crisis, Bush and Blair in Iraq in 2003, even Gallipoli, you think about Winston Churchill's career, that was long hobbled by his disastrous failure at Gallipoli in 1915. Coburn makes the point. Common to these British and American leaders was the disastrous belief that they could win cheap military or political victories in the Middle East. And I suppose the question here is, just in conclusion, could Trump be the latest victim of this delusion? John?
Well, you want to remember that before February 28th, almost everybody, including people like Karl Rove, who's an important advisor with regard to President Trump's political maneuverings, said that there was a good chance that the Republicans would get shellacked in the midterm elections in November. This is before February 28th.
Sure.
And I think lots of people now believe that the Republicans will do even worse as a result of the Iran war, given that there does not appear to be a way out. So that supports Patrick's view. I'm not sure, in large part because I've never seen a politician like President Trump. He's sui generis. He can do almost anything and get away with it. So I'm very reluctant to write him off. He may fail. He may fall flat on his face in the Gulf. The American economy may start to pick up steam over the summer, and he may sail to victory in November, or his party may sail to victory. Now, you may say to me, that's preposterous. I think many people would say that's preposterous. But I think you never want to bet against President.
Well, every time the critics give this guy the kiss of death, it's mouth-to-mouth win cheap military or political victories in the Middle East. I suppose the question here is, just in conclusion, could Trump be the latest victim of this delusion? John?
Well, you want to remember that before February 28th, almost everybody, including people like Karl Rove, who's an important advisor with regard to President Trump's political maneuverings, said that there was a good chance that the Republicans would get shellacked in the midterm elections. Remember, this is before February 28th.
Sure.
And I think lots of people now believe that the Republicans will do even worse as a result of the Iran war, given that there does not appear to be a way out. So that supports Patrick's view. I'm not sure, in large part because I've never seen a politician like President Trump. He's sui generis. He can do almost anything and get away with it. So I'm very reluctant to write him off. He may fail. He may fall flat on his face in the Gulf. The American economy may start to pick up steam over the summer, and he may sail to victory in November, or his party may sail to victory. Now, you may say to me, that's preposterous. I think many people would say that's preposterous. But I think you never want to bet against President.
Well, every time the critics give this guy the kiss of death, it's mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. John, these are grim times. It should enlighten us. Always lovely to be with you, mate. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, Tom, for having me on the show.
Is that the signal was that he would be doing this. He didn't really. Let's do Ivan first. And then we can go on to something. I only have about 15, 20 minutes. I'll
That's perfect for me. All right, Trita, Parsi, you know me, love him. Expert from the Quincy Institute, Iran expert. He's got 20 minutes. It's a Saturday. He joined me. We're going to spin the wheel of chaos. United States decides to double down. Trita, Donald Trump wants to dig up because that's the way to win. Iran has choked off the Strait of Hormuz. We've seen the oil prices go up. And so Donald Trump decided, okay, I'm going to go attack your oil infrastructure in Carg Island. For people who don't know, why should we be concerned about this?
Well, obviously, if he actually were to do what you just said,
price up costs. United States, Donald Trump decided, okay, I'm going to go attack your oil infrastructure in Carg Island. For people who don't know, why should we be concerned about this?
Well, obviously, if he actually were to do what you just said, which he actually did, and I'm going to go into that, then we would see oil prices skyrocket. I mean, I've talked to oil experts who are saying that 150 and above is actually a realistic scenario in that situation. Not necessarily because the loss of Iranian oil in and of itself dramatically would impact the supply that much. I mean, it would, but also because it would be very clear at that point the Iranians would be retaliating against a lot of different oil facilities in the region, and the supply chain, all of the oil depots over there, which some of them have already been targeted, that would be absolute disaster. What's really fascinating here, I have to say, is that the signal was that he would be doing this and he would go after the entire island. Instead, what happened is that he pinpointed the strikes against some of the military facilities on that island, which are not particularly significant, to be frank with you. So the way I read it is that, he kind of made a threat and then he stopped short, probably because people in the USG told him, look, you're going to just blow up the entire oil market. You're already doing pretty badly in this war. Oil prices are already up. You managed to artificially calm the markets down last week. You can't be able to do that indefinitely. Reality will catch up with you. And if you do this, the Iranians will retaliate because you've been completely underestimating the Iranians so far. The threats that they have made, they have actually exercised. And we even saw that after Trump struck the island, but didn't go after the oil installations, the Iranians still went after the oil refinery or the oil depots in UAE and blew them up with some drones. And again, remember, we keep on hearing that, the drones attack have gone down 90% and 95% are being intercepted. Well, apparently wasn't much of a problem for them to strike that oil depot nevertheless. So it's almost as if the Iranians escalated more and have that type of escalation dominance in this situation. So I think reality is really dawning on Trump that he's really dug himself into a deep hole. He thought that he could bluff this one, but he actually stopped short of going as far as he could have gone, which I'm happy he didn't because it would be devastating. But I think the Iranians will interpret this as an indication that Trump has realized he doesn't have a lot of good escalatory options at this point. The Iranians are the ones that are in control of the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, look what happened just a couple of days ago. The Indians opened up their own channel and negotiated a safe passage for their ships through the Strait of Hormuz. The Italians and the French have opened up their channels with Iran. They didn't go to Washington to negotiate a free passage. They went to Tehran, which tells you who is in control of the situation.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up because I noticed yesterday as well that France and Italy, when they made that decision, that to me was a huge pivot. We've already seen that Spain has said, nope, not interested, not us. And now you see France and Italy say, okay, America, you do that. We're going to go deal with Iran right now. Iran still is in control of it. And what we talked to Olivia Troy about yesterday, she said, yeah, no one's talking about fertilizer. You should really start talking about fertilizer because the world kind of runs on fertilizer. And fertilizer is made through petroleum. And you can look at the Strait of Hormuz. So what happens if it's choked off? Well, American farmers right now are freaked out. Can you talk about that real quick? The impact this will have on our economy? Because it's not just oil.
Yeah. It's not just oil for gasoline. It's oil for everything, from fertilizers to tons of other products that are derivatives of oil. That's part of the reason why oil is so important, because so much comes from that. And what we've already seen is the way that this has almost immediately impacted some major economies, India, Philippines, Bangladesh, etc. We've seen that they have to close down schools. They only do opening offices 4 days a week now because they cannot afford to keep them open because they don't have the fuel. India, a massive country, but only has fuel storage for about 25 days. So not surprising that they immediately went to the Iranians and tried to negotiate a free passage. And the manner in which the Iranians are closing the straits right now is a completely different manner compared to what it would have been 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it would have been through mines. They would not be able to control which ships would be exploited in those mines. And that's part of the reason why it was always considered to be a suicide option for them, because it would also prevent their oil from being exported. Now, instead, we see that with advanced technology, they're in a much better position because they can selectively close down the straits and then allow free passage to whoever they decide. So, for instance, they themselves are actually exporting more oil now than they were doing prior to the war because they control the straits. And they're doing it through drones, they're doing it through rockets, and they don't even have to hit the ships with these rockets. They just need to shoot at them. That's enough to make sure that no ships are going through. Insurance cost is too high. The crews are not going to be live bait. The U.S. can say that they're going to have all of these different countries join in to try to open the straits, but none of them are actually volunteering. I mean, it's really funny.
You saw that tweet yesterday, that post, he basically said, you're weak, you're weak. Basically, what he's saying is, you're weak, you're gay, come on, go through it. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing. Through social, he goes, come on, stop being bullied, just do it. Other countries are like, nah, we're good.
No, they're not going to do it. I mean, in fact, there's a piece coming out on Monday by Harlan Ullman from Atlantic Council. He's calculating that it's going to cost $1 trillion to open up the straits. And that is because he believes that some countries, Saudi, UAE, are going to have to come in and pay reparations to Iran in order for the Iranians to agree to open it up. I don't know if it's going to go that far. Certainly, the Iranians have asked for reparations for the cost of this war that has been inflicted upon them. They were not the ones who started this war. But I think it tells you something about the fact that now, for the first time in a couple of years, the Iranians actually have leverage. And I find it very unlikely that they are going to give up that leverage for nothing, just for a ceasefire. I don't see that happening at all. I mean, we've already seen that they have rejected several ceasefire attempts by the Trump administration. So again, Trump, we can say a lot of things about him, and many of us have. But one of the things he's been careful about on the foreign policy front is to not getting himself involved in real clear lose-lose situations. Now he's managed to do that because this is the mother of all lose-lose situations. Which is a terrible situation for him.
Yeah, I was talking to a few friends yesterday. We were talking about how every president, for 46 years, ever since the Islamic Revolution, Democrats and Republicans have not really liked folks, the Vilayat al-Faqih, the Islamic leaders, but none of them were dumb enough to actually be dog-walked by Netanyahu and white Christian nationalists and attack Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu, he came here 23 years ago. I remember he even tried to get George W. Bush to go to Iran, and George W. Bush was like, you know what, I'm going to do something stupid and go into Iraq, but not as stupid as go to Iran. And you see this happening, Frida. I see no exit strategy. I see no entry strategy. I see no shared talking points. And at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, surely there had to be some competent individual in the Trump administration that would have thought, oh, how would Iran retaliate? I think a high schooler would have been able to figure out, why don't they just choke off the oil? So maybe, I don't know, we should plan for that, war game for that. Maybe we should build up our strategic oil reserves. Frida, can you tell us what our administration did?
Yeah, so what happened here is that a lot of people in the administration actually warned about this, but they warned about it in a rather soft way. And the reason for that, I believe, this is the speculative part of what I'm saying, is because of what happened after June. A lot of the people who took strong positions against the June war have lost their seat at the table around Trump's decision-making table. So they're out of the conversation. And this has then sent that signal to everyone else. If the president is really adamant about doing something, do not advise directly against it. That will cost you your seat at the table. So instead, what has been done is a lot of arguments saying, well, if you're going to do this, you're going to need you need another aircraft carrier. Actually, add another aircraft carrier to that, bring more troops, etc. And, this was to a large extent done to try to convince him this is way costlier than you think, Mr. President, don't do it. But instead of saying it directly, they're just constantly saying, look, you need more, the cost is going to be greater, in the hope that he himself would come to that conclusion. But he didn't, because he kept on saying, and as has been reported now, that he thought that the Iranians would capitulate before they closed the Strait of Hormuz. Now, who told him that they would do so? The only ones I've been able to identify who would say it and who would be listened to were the Israelis and their supporters in Washington, D.C. They're the ones who've been running with this narrative for months now, that Iran is so weak, all you need to do is push it a little bit, and it will fall, it will collapse. Why make a deal? Just get rid of these guys. He will be the president that after 47 years finally gets rid of this Islamic Republic. They're a paper tiger. A common line was used in Washington was that Iran is a goal without a goalkeeper at this point. It's just open season, just strike now. It's the best opportunity you've ever had. And he really fell for that. And particularly after his success or at least success thus far in Venezuela, he's just been on cloud nine, thinking that he is capable of doing things that no one else could. So the fact that the other presidents didn't do it, it's not because they were smart, it was not because they were prudent, it was because they were weak. It's because they're not as good as he is. And here we are. And again, I have to say it, I did not identify anyone else that was making this argument except for the Israelis and their supporters in Washington, who kept on beating the drum on the Iranians are weak. This is the best opportunity ever to do so.
And also placating to his ego. I think that's very important, knowing exactly how to flatter him. You're the strongest one. The others were weak. You will be heralded and celebrated, which is why, if you all remember, just the day after the strike, he goes, okay, Iranian people, I've done it. It's time for you to do a regime change. And then the reporting also shows that he was such on a high, a orgasm, that he says, we're on a roll. Let's go for Cuba next. You got dog walk, folks, by Lindsey Graham.
And let me add another point of this. This is also where I think the Iranians really committed a huge mistake. They negotiated with Trump. They actually put more and more concessions on the table. Some of these concessions are just astounding, mindful of where they used to stand on a lot of these different issues. And you heard that from the Omani foreign minister, who was the mediator. So this is like unprecedented what the Iranians are willing to agree to. And I always thought that they were missing the point, that this was not what was going to make it happen, that just giving more concession is not what would actually make Trump say yes to a deal. Because what they were doing simultaneously with this was actually they were reinforcing the idea that they were weak, not because giving concessions in and of itself necessarily is weakness, but because they refused to talk to Trump directly. They were willing to give substantive concessions. They were not willing to give this symbolic measure, which is like talk to the president directly, so that the only voice he hears in his head is not Bibi Netanyahu. They didn't do it, and I think they missed Trump's psychology. When Trump came in, he said, "Look, I'm going to talk to everyone. I'll talk to ISIS. I'm going to have the head of Al Qaeda at the White House. I'm going to talk to Kim Jong Un. I'm going to do all of
I'll do love letters with Kim Jong Un.
Yeah, because I'm strong. A strong person does that, right? That's his view. So when the Iranians are refusing to talk to him directly, which from the Iranian standpoint, they believe that they show strength. They're showing strength because they're refusing to talk to the superpower. But from Trump's view, it just reinforced the idea that they're weak, because if they were strong as he was, they would have no problem talking. So I think the Iranians also committed major mistakes that reinforced the idea that they're actually much weaker than they are. And this fueled Trump's belief that he was on a winning path towards actually getting either surrender or a collapse of the Islamic Republic.
I know people always laugh when I've been saying this for 2 weeks, but as a person who unfortunately spent an immense amount of time writing about Donald Trump, researching Donald Trump, I say an opportunity for an off-ramp literally is as simple as someone coming up to him, giving him a trophy and saying that you've liberated Iran. You give him the victory in the headline and he feels like he's the king, and he says, okay, I won. A huge mistake done by Iran, actually, because they actually saw him as potentially a competent individual. And I'm glad you always brought back that point that I think is lost, is that the Omani foreign minister has said that through diplomacy, if we were dealing with a rational, competent human being, Donald Trump would have and could have seen that as a victory and used that as a headline. I've done more than even Obama. Look what I got done.
Look, he would have genuinely said that. This would have been the kind of a fake prize. He actually would genuinely have been factual if he had said it at the time.
And the Omani foreign minister, folks, 12 hours before the strikes, flew all the way here and begged JD Vance and said, look how far we've gone. But alas, the other worms were in his ear, which includes Kushner, Lindsey Graham, and Netanyahu. And I do want to ask this because this is also Israel's war. In Israel, you said something that I think is profound and very accurate, is that Israel believes that the only way it can achieve security is if the rest of the Middle East is in insecurity. And now we're seeing it as of yesterday. Reports are that Israel wants to occupy southern Lebanon. Trita, what could happen wrong? It's not like it's never happened before. And we know that there's a mass displacement in Lebanon right now, folks. Over 700,000 people have left, thousands of casualties, over 100 kids killed. And this is separate from what's happening in Iraq and in Iran. Talk to us about Israel's long-term game here.
So I think it's very important to recognize that the Israelis, because of their own historical experience, have a military doctrine that is frankly just very different from almost anything you see in the world. Most countries try to manage threats, they try to balance threats, and they define threats as being a combination of capacity times intent. Just having the capacity is not enough. You actually have to have a hostile intent. So even if the Canadians, for instance, were to build capabilities that potentially could threaten the United States, I don't think the US would be too worried about it because it would be a recognition that the Canadians don't have that intent. From the Israeli standpoint, again, rooted in their own experience, I'm not trying to justify or explain how they've come to this. They believe that intent is unimportant. They're going to always assume that the regional states have the intent to kill and destroy and wipe out Israel as long as they have the capacity. So intent is unimportant. Capacity is everything. But if you're only looking at capacity and you want to undo or balance or essentially dominate, make sure that you have more preponderance of force, that essentially means that your strategy for security is dominance. Yeah. You will not achieve security unless you're dominating everyone else, not because you're balancing them, not because you're managing them, you're dominating them. So Israel demands total security, which then requires total insecurity for everyone else. This is part of the reason why, for instance, the United States is pushing the Lebanese army to disarm Hezbollah. And the US is willing to arm the Lebanese army enough so that it can disarm Hezbollah, but not enough so that the Lebanese army actually could pose a deterrent against Israel. So it's about keeping these countries weak enough so that Israel constantly can dominate them, bomb them at will at any point with impunity. And this is what Israel has tried to achieve and to some extent has achieved in its near immediate border areas. And some of the other countries that are not treated like Lebanon, etc., are countries that are completely dependent on the United States, whether it's Egypt or Jordan. These countries have no capability of waging a war against Israel because their military is so intertwined with that of the United States, and the US would never allow them to do so. So again, whatever capability they have doesn't really count because the United States can push 2 buttons and those capabilities are out. But Lebanon, previously Syria, those were countries that could, and of course Iran has that ability, particularly because of its long-range missiles. So the effort has been to eliminate those capabilities, and in the case of Iran, the Israelis don't care if the supreme leader's name is Moshtaba Hassan or Ali. That's of no importance to them. What's important to them is that the Iranians don't have any capability that could challenge Israel's designs for domination. And this is why I think the Israelis, despite the disastrous way this war has gone for the US, are actually achieving some of their goals, because Iran's capabilities are being set back. They are being degraded. It's not achieving the full thing that they want in terms of never being able to deter Israel, but nevertheless, it's probably set them back about 10 years. As the president himself said, I think that was actually probably a rather correct statement. And if it ends in that way, that Iran actually set back 10 years, probably a complete disaster for the US, disaster for the GCC countries, disaster for the energy markets and the global economy, but quite a good achievement for the Israelis.
And we continue to support this with our taxpayer dollars. It's madness. And we still haven't even talked about the ongoing genocidal campaign in Gaza, the extremely violent campaign of expansion of the settlers in the West Bank, also now what's happening in Iraq. And can you just remind people what happened the last time Israel occupied Lebanon? Can you tell us what was birthed in the aftermath of that?
It's really quite fascinating, that entire story. In 1982, the Israelis started occupying parts of Lebanon. At first, frankly, the populations in the south there perhaps not welcomed them, but they saw it as not necessarily terribly negative because the PLO, the Palestinians, had gone north, and a lot of tensions had been created with the local population in southern Lebanon, which tends to be overwhelmingly Shiite. But then a couple of incidents happened, and that then turned the population there against the Israelis. And at that moment, the Lebanese Shia population there, who was very poor and in a much weaker position within Lebanon compared to what it is today, needed an outside patron to be able to support it. The Iranians had already for about 2 years tried to spread their Islamic revolution without much success. But now suddenly there was a desire on the Lebanese part, or at least the Lebanese Shia part, to get some help. And that gave the birth to the organization that we today call Hezbollah. Hezbollah did not exist before the Israeli occupation of Lebanon. The Iranians had tried to create something there and had failed. So had it not been for the invasion of Lebanon, there would not be Hezbollah today. And we have no idea what the next attempt at occupation of Lebanon would give birth to. Remember, the occupation of Iraq by the United States gave birth to ISIS. So I think we have a pretty clear pattern of the unintended consequences of these illegitimate, illegal occupations and wars in these countries that, at least from the standpoint of the United States, absolutely do not serve U.S. interests.
Let me ask this final question, because we're talking about how these horror birth monsters that haunt everyone, right? Hezbollah was birthed in the aftermath of Israel's illegal occupation of Lebanon. Like you said, ISIS was created as a result of the United States' illegal occupation and invasion of Iraq. We're already seeing blowback. Last time we spoke, we were talking about asymmetrical warfare. We're talking about radicalization. We've seen a couple of attempts already in this past week in Virginia, a hate crime and terror attack at a synagogue. And this is without Iran really flexing its sleeper cells, right, in any way, shape, or form. Asymmetrical warfare is what I'm worried about. I think the world is a battlefield now. And I believe it was the Iranian foreign minister. I think you know exactly that video, the interview I'm talking about. Man, this guy was cool as a cucumber treat a couple of days ago. He goes, yeah, we prepared for this. Yeah, we thought America would do this. Yeah, we've strategized. I don't think America strategized. Yeah, okay, we have a plan. Like, he was this calm. That's not to say that they're not reckless or they're not going to suffer. But I feel like they're going to gouge us, Trina. And especially now that 2,500 troops are being sent, especially it's the largest buildup of the U.S. military since the Iraq War, especially as he's threatening, like we said, the island, especially as oil prices are skyrocketing. How do you think this will retaliate at home in America?
So I want to be very, very careful about this because I hear this talk about sleeper cells and all this talk about that the Iranians have those capabilities. I'm not sure, not my area of expertise, I have to admit, but when I look at this, we have to keep one thing in mind. We only have one case of an actual terrorist attack that was conducted by someone on U.S. soil with clear evidence that the Iranians were encouraging and were in direct contact. And that was back in 1980, in which an African-American was recruited by the revolutionaries to assassinate one or two diplomats of the Shah's regime in Washington, D.C. Other than that, we don't have any evidence. And if there are those cases, but they've been kept secret, then obviously, I don't have access to that information. So I'm not so sure that that capacity actually exists. Iranian reformist President Mohammad Khatami more or less kind of dismantled a lot of the capabilities the Iranians had built up because they were deeply involved in these things before. And I'm not saying that they're not doing anything, but he actually dismantled a lot of that. So later on, when the Israelis were assassinating Iranian scientists inside of the country, the Iranians tried to retaliate, and they kept on failing. There was a couple of instances in which they were successful, but there were plenty of cases in which it was just truly amateurish what they were doing. And I think that at least called a rethink along in many different places about, okay, are the Iranians really that capable on this? Have they really continued to invest in those type of capabilities? So I don't know if any of that actually truly exists, but what we can say there is a risk for is that there are people that are self-motivated. Radicalization, who have no connection, no instructions, no help, nothing of that kind. But they're seeing things, images on YouTube, on TikTok, on the news. They're seeing what the United States is doing. They're seeing what the Iranians are doing, and as a result, may take action on their own. The few cases that seem to have erupted after the U.S. started this war appear to fall in that category of people who have actually no connection to the country, but are essentially self-radicalized by seeing what we're doing and the backlash from that. And I think that's an important distinction. There's some high-level cases in which there are accusations that the Iranians were behind it, etc. But if you take a look at the court proceedings, there's actually no evidence presented for that. You have one case, of course, in which the U.S. intelligence believed that the Iranians were looking to assassinate John Bolton. And perhaps there is clear evidence of an attempt, or that there was a design, or that there was an intention to do so. But we've not seen anything that actually has been done successfully. And that's important to understand. And that doesn't also seem to have been, driven by any sleeper cells or anything like that, but it was actually the Iranians themselves. So again, I think we have to be a little bit careful about it and recognize that so far what we've seen has been self-radicalization because of the backlash from the war itself.
And sadly, especially when this war is framed as a religious war by Lindsey Graham, especially when you have white Christian nationalists like Mike Huckabee, especially when you have Jewish supremacists talking about, Amalek and deliberately doing the strikes around Purim. And then you will have people on the other side say, oh, okay, well, if you're making this a religious war, well, let me use this as recruitment. And it won't be ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah, it'll be a new monster. I hope I'm wrong. And so what we've seen so far already, folks, are, as what Trita said, it seems, again, with the evidence that we know so far, individuals were in part radicalized and saw this as an excuse to then take, they attacked the West and Israel. And they attacked the West and Israel by attacking Old Dominion and attacking a synagogue. That's what happens. Innocent people are the ones who suffer. And the same thing's going to happen abroad. I fear that American bases, American troops, American tourists are going to be seen as representatives of the West. The world burns. Final word to you, Trina.
No, thank you so much for having me. And just the last thing I say is that, look, we still have the ability to end this war. The president should do it. It's not going to be as easy as he thinks because he's not in control of this war. He cannot unilaterally decide when this war ends. But the longer this goes on, most likely the price will be higher. Like, so for instance, these offers that the Iranians put on the table before the war that Trump rejected, I doubt that they're going to go back to that. I think they're going to be, the price is going to rise. I think they're going to ask for significant sanctions relief to agree to open up the Strait of Hormuz. So I think the cost has already gone up and it will go up even further if we stay in this war longer. So far, we have not seen any signs of a real strategy. I think what we're seeing is that they're hoping that the sound of more explosions in Tehran will cover up the fact that there is no planning, there is no strategy behind what Trump is doing at this point. And that's a very, very dangerous situation.
And you saw the president very deliberately right after Pete Hegseth made that bombastic statement about Iranians. They're afraid. That you saw the release of the video where the president just walking without security through the streets of Tehran. That was very deliberate, folks.
Yeah, and not only that, I'm sure people can look it up, but there's videos of these people marching. This is Engelov Street in the middle of Tehran. It is Quds Day, which is Jerusalem Day, was something that, incidentally, Ayatollah Khomeini started in 1981 to cover up the fact that the Iranians actually were not doing much to help the Palestinians because the Iranians had to focus on their own war with Iraq. And they were getting criticized by Yasser Arafat for having not delivered on their promises to the Palestinian cause. So what does Khomeini do? He institutes the Quds Day parade. So they're parading through Tehran waving Palestinian flag, frankly, at the time at least, to cover up the fact that they weren't doing anything substantively for Palestine. Nevertheless, that day had lived on. They were marching 2 days ago now. And you can see the videos. As they're marching, suddenly there's bombs exploding. And you don't see people cover, you don't see people change direction or panic. They're continuing to march straight towards where the explosions are. And I think this goes to the very core of this. Trump really misunderstood and miscalculated on a crucial point. He thought that this regime, this theocracy, would be more afraid of war than of surrender, whereas in reality, they're more afraid of surrender than they are of war.
Trita, can you shamelessly promote yourself as you leave?
Sure, please go to my Twitter, which is tparsi, or to my Substack, which is
на фоні рішень Америки про часткове послаблення санкцій проти російської нафти, яка зараз перебуває